We're still in Alberta, where just a little northwest of Grande Prairie we find Beaver Lodge, a small town, and in fact there is a beaver lodge over there. And in case you don't know what a beaver looks like, they've erected this giant one, put up in 2004. This traffic circle is where the sign is erected, and all the traffic coming through will pass by here, but the actual milepost is 1 block away. Mile 0 of the Alaska Highway, downtown Dawson Creek. I had told you a few weeks ago that I thought this was mustard. That was just a guess based on the color, but in fact what it is the plant rapeseed. Now the people who are producing this rapeseed decided that housewives probably wouldn't be too interested in purchasing it, so they changed the name to canola, and you'll recognize it on your shelf as canola oil. This is a 10% downgrade. I don't think I've ever seen anything more than an 8% in the States. I'm just going along at second gear. I'm about 50 miles in from the start at Dawson Creek at the next major town, Fort St. John. Now, I don't know how a fort got named after a saint, but I guess that's another story. According to a little guidebook that I'm reading right here, I've just passed more homes in the last 50 miles than I will pass in the next 1,470 or so from here all the way to Fairbanks. So it's getting pretty rural. I am doing my laundry right now, eating my breakfast, filling up with gasoline, keeping the dog out of my food, and hopefully we're on our way. This is a work camp for workers working in the area. Mostly oil field type technicians. I suppose there could be some road crews out here. I saw an ad in the local restaurant a while back, actually it was a gas station, advertising $95. It included a room, it included 3 meals, internet access, television, cable television. Get it while it lasts, it says, so I guess they thought that was a pretty good deal. So I'll show you the number of doors on these things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If indeed these what they seem to be, you sure don't get much more than a room. There's another one with 5 windows on it. I guess the boss gets to stay in the big ones. And over here we have some flags flying. Obviously the Canadian and American, and a couple of others that I'm not sure of. One of them, I think, is the British Columbia State, province flag. It could be there to indicate the origin of some of the workers staying at the camp. I almost drove past these guys. I turned around to look for a beaver dam. Saw these guys on the side of the road. Sure looks like a beaver dam to me. I can't think of any other reason for a dam to be here. About 100,000 cars a year, 100,000 tourists a year use this road. About 1,000 a day on average in the summertime. And they're constantly warning us about wildlife on the roads. Hitting a deer at home can be fatal. Hitting a moose here probably will be. It's the perfect height to go right through your windshield. Muskwa River is the lowest point on the Alaskan Highway, the Alcan Highway. My GPS shows me at 1,011 feet, and the river below the bridge is probably another 100 feet or so. Within 100 miles of this point, we should be at the highest point of the route. Now we're in Fort Nelson. This is a town of about 5,000 people. It's the largest town we will go through short of Fairbanks. This town has the distinction of being the end of the line for the railroad. You can't get any further north on rail from here. Now there is a railroad that goes from Anchorage to Fairbanks. You probably heard me talk about riding it. But that one doesn't continue south. It ends at both Anchorage and Fairbanks. There's talk about putting the rail through from Fort Nelson up to Anchorage, but at this point it's just talk. So at this point, if you're on the rail, this is the end of the line. This aircraft engine had a bad landing. These treads were needed for the deep mud they worked in. That is a really old car body made into a sled. Brand new in 1942. It's a year older than I am. 1948. This is an engine block. The head will be bolted down on the top, and each one of the holes has one piston. Here's the crankcase and pistons to that diesel engine. It ran for 13 years straight generating electricity. Never turned it off. Finally the crankcase broke. There's a big crack in it. You can see it in close examination. They've got more old cars here than I've seen in some car museums. Are you old enough to remember the 1951 Studebaker? They would put a third headlight right in the middle of the hood. Take out that ornament. What number, please? 100 miles later, we're at the summit. Not the summit of the mountains, of course, but just of this highway. My altimeter is reading 4,200 feet. And we found a mountain goat on the road. This mountain goat is unperturbed by our presence, but I am told if I get out of the car, he'll run off. Every time I click my camera, this guy looks up. There's a mountain goat feeding on something on the side of the road, probably a lichen. This is Muncho Lake on the west side of the Rockies, considered to be the most beautiful on the Alaskan Highway route, the most beautiful lake. It's kind of hard to tell because it's so overcast, but the water has a definite green tinge to it, like copper, because there's so much copper in the hills that leaches that color out into the water. It looks exactly like the color that you get on copper as it's oxidizing. Perhaps you could tell the green color a little bit more from here. Just driving along and saw what I think is a wood buffalo. They live in the wooded areas as opposed to out in the prairie.